Henry VII isn't just another pretty face. He is a stone-cold propaganda machine, and I just love that about him. One of the most influential ways Henry was able to promote himself was by making groundbreaking innovations in English coinage. Now, talking about coins is probably boring to most people, but I bet if you're here, you love talking about Tudor history, so let's dive in. In 1489, Henry minted the extravagant gold sovereign coin, and this helped to propel the dynasty's reputation for prosperity and strength. And not only that, but to this day, Henry Tudor's gold sovereign is one of the most coveted and valuable coins in the world. Could this be Henry Tudor's most important and underrated legacy? I'm Amy from Fare Thee Well, a dedicated Tudor enthusiast, and I'm so happy you're here to learn more about Henry VII's iconic gold sovereign coin that was minted on October 28, 1489. Now, not only was this the first pound coin ever created, but it was the most valuable coin ever minted up to that date. Something this valuable and consequential needs to be explored further, especially if you consider yourself a Tudor fanatic like me. So let's plunge in and get to know more about Henry VII's gold sovereign coin. In 1489, Henry knew that in order to continue to be successful on his throne, he had to send a message to his kingdom and Europe alike that his dynasty was thriving. This was essential to stopping potential pretenders and other rulers from trying to take his crown. Minting an eye-catching coin with him enthroned on the front would certainly help send that message. So let's refresh our memories on some major events that led up to his minting of the sovereign. Back in June 1487, 2 years prior to the minting, Henry had crushed the Lambert-Simnel Rebellion led by John de la Pole, Earl of Lincoln. As I mentioned in another video, Henry actually forgave the young boy Lambert-Simnel for being an innocent pawn in the whole mess. However, John de la Pole was an actual threat. Although it wasn't Henry's intent, John de la Pole, Earl of Lincoln, was cut down at the Battle of Stoke. We know this event was very significant because it ultimately ended the Wars of the Roses. The next year, in 1488, things were really heating up on the continent between the King of France and the Duchy of Brittany. France was aggressively trying to take over and absorb the independent duchy. Now, originally, Henry wanted to be a mediator between the two rivals because he felt loyalty to both. Remember, even though the Duke of Brittany had Henry in custody, he seemingly tried to protect him during his 14-year exile there. And of course, we know France helped fund Henry's invasion and ultimately led to him winning the crown of England. As Henry tried to stay neutral, Elizabeth of York's uncle, Edward Woodville, went rogue, gathered his own small force of archers, and traveled over to Brittany to help defend them in their fight for independence. Edward Woodville, ever the chivalric knight, died heroically at this battle, which I am not even going to try to butcher. Side note, there was recently a statue erected here for their courageous defense of Brittany's independence. Unfortunately, the defeat of this battle had long-lasting negative effects for Francis, and when the Duke died suddenly a few months later, he left his young daughter Anne to rule the duchy. By 1489, Henry decided to support Duchess Anne. In February, he signed the Treaty of Redon and promised 6,000 troops to help aid the duchy against France. Then, in 1489, Henry entered into the monumental alliance with the rising superpowers Isabel I of Castile and Ferdinand II of Aragon. Ever heard of them? The Treaty of Medina del Campo is my treaty crush, if that's a thing. If it's not a thing, let's make it a thing. What is the one treaty or alliance that endlessly fascinates you? Let me know in the comments below. I'm really interested to know. I believe that this alliance with Spain is the cornerstone of the entire Tudor dynasty reign. But let's save that for another video for now. The Treaty of Medina del Campo united all three kingdoms in a mutually beneficial alliance that also included the marriage of Prince Arthur of Wales to Princess Catherine of Aragon. It united all of the countries against political enemies and pretenders to the throne. Not to mention, Henry was to receive a hefty dowry of about $30 million in today's money. The magnitude of this alliance cannot be overstated. It was a huge coup for Henry. Now, we have seen Henry's success at the Battle of Stoke, his invaluable alliance with the Spanish monarchs, and he's coming to the aid of a vulnerable ally. Henry just has one more domestic situation to handle, and then we get to the minting of the gold sovereign. I promise. In May 1489, Henry effectively handled the Yorkshire Rebellion, but at the cost of the 4th Earl of Northumberland, Henry Percy's life. After Northumberland's death, Henry made Thomas Howard, then Earl of Surrey, Lieutenant of the North. As Henry stretched his political legs, he was not only becoming a power player in international relations, but he was also succeeding at keeping things in control in his kingdom. That, coupled with an heir securely in the nursery and another baby due in the fall, Henry needed to do something really big to set the stage for his dynasty's future. A high-value gold coin with him regally enthroned and displaying his heraldic emblem was the perfect way to commemorate his successes. Naming it the sovereign left no doubt whose initiative it was and who it represented. So we have the major events leading up to the minting of the sovereign. Let's talk about the details of the actual coin itself. What I find most interesting about the appearance of the gold sovereign is Henry's decision to depict himself wearing the imperial or closed-style crown on his head. Never before, at least not intentionally, had an English monarch been depicted wearing that style crown on his coinage. Now, there's a few theories I have researched that could explain why Henry decided to depict himself wearing the imperial style crown. Let's talk about them. First, it could have been to imitate Maximilian I's 1487 coin, Real d'Or. These two were in the early stages of their captivating frenemy saga. But copying other rulers' coins didn't necessarily mean you were trying to steal or pay homage. It's just something that had been done for centuries. The second reason is that Henry could have had an internal desire to create an empire under the English crown. Or he could have just really wanted to distinguish himself from the French, who always depicted themselves with an open crown on their coins. I'm not sure the reason, but on October 28, 1489, the incredible gold sovereign was minted. Now, this was the first time a pound of sterling, was made into an actual coin. Prior to that, it had just been an accounting term, kind of like the use of a mark. And this baby was big, twice as heavy as Edward IV's Rose Noble, and twice as valuable at 20 shillings. Now, if you're still with me, and I hope you are, let's take a look at the gorgeous details of the coin itself. The gold sovereign was 23.3 carat fineness, which makes it almost 97% solid gold. Isn't that extraordinary? And like I said, it was really big. It was about 1.5 inches around in diameter and weighed almost 1/2 ounce. The writing translated on the obverse says, "Henry, by the grace of God, King of England and France and Lord of Ireland." And on the reverse, I found the translation for the passage from Luke 4:30. It says, "But Jesus, passing through the midst of them, went his way." I like to think this is a warning to anyone who dares go against Henry VII, that even if he is surrounded by his enemies, he will still walk right through them and prevail. What's really interesting about the one they show on Wiki is that it's the 5th type of sovereign that he made, and it shows the portcullis at the bottom by his feet. We know that the Beauforts use the portcullis as their badge. Now, this is the only one of Henry VII's coins that has a portcullis, but every Tudor monarch minted a sovereign, and all of the other ones has a portcullis. On the front of this coin, you can also see the closed crown that we talked about, the orb, the scepter, the throne, and his coronation robes. And of course, you can see the mint mark here and this crosslet. The other designs are a little different in their own way. Henry uses all of the symbols that we're very familiar with. He has the greyhound and the dragon on one. Obviously, he's got the Tudor rose on the back of all of them, depending on which one. Some are bigger, some are smaller. And the very first sovereign coin that was minted in 1489 has a crown on top of the Tudor rose on the back. I thought that was really interesting too. And these coins are so rare that it's actually really difficult to find pictures of any of them, but I was able to like really dig and do some research and I was able to find them. I can't use them, unfortunately, but if you have a chance, definitely look them up, check out all 5 styles and kind of look at all the different emblems that he used in each one. Now that we know what it looks like and the different symbols that Henry used to project his legacy, let's talk about what this coin was actually used for. Because it was such a large sum of money, it wouldn't have been used in daily transactions. In fact, there's recordings of it being used as gift for ambassadors or other European rulers. Which makes sense because the whole point was to show Henry's magnificence. So if he didn't get it in the hands of any of his European rivals, then how would anybody know how amazing it was? As I said in the beginning of this video, the sovereign is one of the most beloved and cherished coins in the world. I wonder if Henry imagined that his introduction of the sovereign would have been as influential on England and ultimately Great Britain as it was. If you are interested in learning the history of the sovereign after James I, let me know in the comments. I would love to do some more research and make another video, maybe like a sequel to this one, going all the way up from James I of England and Scotland, all the way until now and every subsequent sovereign that came after. If you found this video interesting, please give it a like. I loved researching it and making it for you. And as always, if you found any incorrect facts or errors, let me know in the comments. I'm always willing to listen and learn. That's why I'm here. I really hope to see you again next time. Drop me a line and say hello. Until then, fare thee well.